Yo, welcome back to the station, Destination Devi. You know who it is. It's your host of this here thing, Ray G. You can find me on Twitter at RayGQ. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Check out all the content on the channel. I don't care if you just want player breakdowns, you want Devi stuff, you want redraft, you want Dynasty. We got you covered over here at Destination Devi. Smash that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on alerts so every week when we're dropping new content, you'll be able to have it right there on your phone. And this show right here, for those of you who have been long-time subscribers, you'll notice the color's different. Black and gold, blue and black. As of today, or as of a couple of months ago or some weeks ago, the All Gas Show is now powered by Fade the Noise.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
FTNFantasy.com. It is a powerhouse lineup roster of talented fantasy writers and analysts throughout the community, covering every damn sport you can think of. NASCAR, golf, tennis, boxing, hockey, baseball, college football, NFL, redraft, Dynasty, Devi, everything that you can think of. The team that these guys have put together is nothing short of spectacular, revolutionary, and for a person like me who grew up in Las Vegas, who is all about the gambling, I want to bet on sports. They've got you covered. Daily fantasy, odds, prop bets, tools. It's fantastic. I'm not shitting you. It is fantastic. And if you want a discount, make sure you use All Gas promo code at the checkout. All Gas promo code. Get 5% off now. And after the grand opening and stuff wears off, then we'll bump it up and it'll be a little bit more. But make sure you use that All Gas promo code. And today I'm very excited, honored to have Mr. Noisy Huevos himself, Brad Evans, drop by the Destination Devi to talk to us about what Fade the Noise is, what to expect, and then we're going to dive into some football talk to talk about some players, some polarizing players in the news right now, talk about the season. Are we going to play? Are we not going to play? I know that is something that we are thirsting for. Everybody has an in. Everybody has a guy. But this is what we have to do. We have to predict what's going to happen or do our best to try to predict. And who better to talk to than a guy who has worked all across this industry from NBC, Yahoo. He's even done the damn weather. He's got a show on Sirius XM. Brad Evans is that guy. So excited to talk to him. So excited to be a part of the Fade the Noise family. And you guys are not going to get enough of this. This is awesome. It only enhances this. I'm going to continue to get great quality guests on to bring you excellent fantasy football content on a weekly basis. So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce and get the man himself in, Mr. Brad Evans. And here we are. Here we are, people. I know you've been wondering, where the hell is the All Gas Show? And why the hell is it blue and black? It just looks different, right? It was gold and black, and I liked it, and now you changed it up on us. Well, I've got somebody here right next to me. You could see this guy, and you may not know who he is. If you don't know, and you've been living under a rock, that's Brad Evans, y'all. That's Brad freaking Evans on the All Gas Show. I don't even know if Brad knows a damn thing about Devi, but it's the Destination Devi YouTube channel. Brad Evans, Fade the Noise. That is correct. The All Gas Show is now powered by Fade the Noise. We are humbled and excited to be a part of the Fade the Noise family. But without further ado, I know you're not here to look at me and hear me talk. Brad Evans, who are you? What is this Fade the Noise thing, man? Just talk to the people, brother. What is going on, Brad Evans?
Well, Ray, it is an absolute honor to be on your fine Destination Devi program, my man. I am familiar with your work. I've been checking you out on YouTube. You're a rising star in this business. You've been hustling your butt off and making things happen, and that's exactly what we're doing right now on Fade the Noise, FTNFantasy.com, FTNDaily.com, FTNBets.com as well. Yes, we're covering sports betting as well as the overlap in this industry is great. It's substantial. like right around 70 to 75% of people that play fantasy have also dabbled in sports betting. So if you're into player props, you're into totals, you're in to traditional against the spread lines, we're going to have people covering that across all the sports. And of course, we're not going to underserve our fantasy peeps as well, as we've got some of the best in the business like Ray, like myself, Jeff Ratcliffe, Chris Meany, Derek Brown. I mean, the list goes on and on of all-stars, highly respected guys within their category, whether it's, season-long daily fantasy, whether it's their individual sports, whether it's football, basketball, the NBA, restarting up later this month, MLB restarting, hopefully, later this month, the NHL as well. And we even got guys that are from Australia covering Aussie rules football. Good day, mate. Fosters. I mean, look, man, it's wild, it's wacky, but we have been a nascent business, feverishly working behind the scenes, squirreling away a bunch of fun topics, and now we have revealed it to the masses on FTN. So that's what this is all about. You, my friend, are a beaming light. I love your energy, and you raised our bench game because I think you can max out, about 3x greater than I could ever dream of. So I appreciate that.
Well, and here's the authenticity of this show. I told Brad before we got on air that my wife was going to interrupt the most important interview that I've ever had. And there she is, Brad, back there. She's walking in. She's a member of the Fade the Noise family too. But what I want to talk about is, everything that I pretty much cover is fantasy football related, whether that be from the collegiate side, dynasty, redraft, all of that stuff. But when I go to the Fade the Noise website and when I've been following on Twitter, I'm seeing cats that cover golf, MMA, all types of stuff. So while this show is going to be primarily focused on football, can you just give the people an overview of everything that is housed under this Fade the Noise brand? I mean, is it bigger than football?
It is bigger than football, my man. We got esports. If you play League of Legends, we got somebody covering that from a sports betting perspective. NASCAR, whether you play daily fantasy NASCAR or if you want to, fire off a wager on a driver, we got that. I mentioned hockey, soccer. I don't know jack about soccer. I don't. The footy, the football on the pitch. I know nothing about it at all. There are people that like 1-0 games out there. If you're one of those individuals, we got MLS. We cover EPL, stuff that's going on across the pond in Europe. Tennis. We got a dude that's like up 200 units in tennis. I don't remember jack about tennis. I know Serena. I know Venus Williams. I know like Boris Becker in the Wimbledon days back in the 1980s. Outside of that, man, I know nothing about tennis. But we got a sharp that covers that as well. So, and the other thing too is our tools are just so beautifully designed, aesthetically pleasing, and just really easy to use. We got a parlay calculator, which is one of the sickest things I've ever seen developed by anybody. Elliot Chris, shout outs to you, my man, our COO, has done just a brilliant job creating that. And a little sneak preview, you and I were talking about this off air. We got a player prop search tool that's going to change the game. And I don't say that loosely or lightly. No, that's for real. It is going to change the game, and we're hoping to be unveiling that to all of you sometime in the coming days. So we're going to be adding all kinds of new bells and whistles as we grow. Your experience as a user is also going to grow no matter what sport you love to follow.
Yeah, and that the parlay calculator. And Brad, I'm from Las Vegas. I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
that's home for me. Las Vegas is home. Yeah. So I am an avid sports bettor. I think it enhances the overall sports experience, right?
Oh yeah.
And I love that. And that calculator, I'm just going to tell you the tools that I've seen, and I've only seen a little bit. And Brad already said there are more things coming next week, the week after, the month after that. I would pay, Brad, and you could boot me from Fade the Noise right now, and I would pay for that parlay calculator. It is that legit. It is fantastic.
That's the beauty of what we're doing at FTN. We're very competitive in the marketplace in terms of pricing. And, we start as low as $34.99 in our bronze fantasy football package, and it goes all the way up, to like $300, I think, for the betting package. But that's still cheap.
Yeah.
by what is the industry standard that's out there, because you're getting all of these tools. If you want to, pay for the larger packages, you get all of the writers. It's different tiers for every way that people consume. And one of my other favorite features of the site, Ray, is the night mode. I'm 42. My eyes, I mean, they're going. I don't have any spectacles on right now. I could look a little bit more studious, maybe go a little sexy librarian on that. But,
Yeah.
you got the spectacles. You know what I'm talking
Oh, yeah.
about.
Oh, yeah.
You're at night. You're on your device. You're laying in bed. You're reading through stuff. I don't want that like white just hit me in the face and straining my eyes. And I hated that experience. A lot of mobile properties have. So we were adamant at the onset of development that we're going to be full night mode so it can protect those retinas so they can stay intact for future use.
You talked about the fantastic and the talented team of individuals that you have on board, and you did mention some names, Elliot and Jeff, but just speak to the Fade the Noise team as a whole. And I'm talking about the guys that are behind the scenes making the magic happen. I mean, it seems like what has been created, what you guys have created, it's truly something that anybody who is a lover of sports, fantasy gaming, betting, esports, there's something here for everybody.
Yeah, every walk of life, man. We leave no stone unturned when it comes to the FTN staff. Stefano Vaccarino has done a great job behind the scenes. Him and Josh Kalachi doing a lot of the ins and outs. I mean, I'm just a front-facing jackass. That's my role in all this. I'm an ugly face. You definitely beautified our overall appearance, so I appreciate that, Ray, with you being a part of the team. But there's a lot of guys behind the scenes that don't get enough credit. Daniel Kelly, one of our editors. I mean, we opened up with 100 pieces of content.
Yeah.
100 plus pieces of content. And we had two dudes that read all of that, edited all of it. And that takes an enormous Herculean effort to build out all of that stuff, cut the pictures, make sure grammar's correct, everything. Make sure everybody's bringing their A game. So, those guys deserve a ton of credit. All the business brokers and then all the content creators that we have. And I'm just so proud of our team. I'm so proud of the work ethic that we've all put in, because we're all committed to this idea. And it's almost utopian in a way. And, not to get all psychological on it, but it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy.
There you go.
In this time that everybody's so divided in our country, that we are coming together as a collective unit to bring you what we feel is some of the best content on the web in all of these fantasy and sports betting categories.
It's good that you brought that up, because, it is a time right now. We are living in a time where there is so much divisiveness and back and forth, but something that brings us all together. Something that brings us all together is sport. And I want to talk about football. And I'm going to ask you, Brad Evans, the $1 million question that everybody is talking about right now. Are we going to have football this season?
I think we will. Because the one thing I know about the NFL is this. One of the great driving forces of that league? Greed. Greed is good. And I've talked to a number of current players. I've talked to a lot of former players who've talked to current players. And the consensus is we got to make our money.
Yep.
Their contracts aren't guaranteed. You look at what Pat Mahomes just got. Now, he got a large chunk of change to sign him, but he's not making $400 million. Let's be real. There's guaranteed mechanisms. That's how they described it, that are in place when he reaches certain thresholds in his career, that kicks in and he gets that money. But a lot of these guys, third string tight end, a long snapper, kicker, punter, whatever, they may be making just above or right at the league minimum, which is still a lot of money for most people. But for these guys, this is their livelihood. And if they have to surrender that for an entire year, they're not going to, it's not going to sit so well with themselves or their families. They just want to go out there and work, and they want to entertain us. Right. So I think it's tricky right now because of COVID. I think real litmus test here is baseball, to be honest with you, because the NBA, just like what we've seen with the TBT tournament, which has been great. I don't know if you've been watching any of that. My House of Pain team, I went to the University of Illinois. You can see her over there on my left shoulder. They knocked off Carmen's crew, which was the #1 seed. So Andres Feliz and company, hat tip to you. Thank you for making my sports pleasures come true here during these lean times. But, they're doing it. I think the NBA is going to have a lot of success. The biggest concerns, like Stephen A. Smith said, is dudes leaving the
Right.
reservation, leaving the bubble because
Right.
they got to
Right.
find some ladies or whatever,
Right.
so they put themselves at risk. But if guys are contained and they're committed to the cause, and I think most of the NBA guys will, and they're testing vigorously every single day, that works out. And then baseball works out. And baseball, I got to remember, it's not in one location. It's in the cities where these teams are playing.
Right.
So those guys can hunker down, socially distance, mask in public till they get to the park. They get tested. They do what they need to do. That is the blueprint for the NFL to follow, because they're going to have to set up all these individual bubble cities as well throughout the country. So, I mean, you played football. You know how it is. There's not a whole lot of downtime once you get in season.
Nope.
So, as long as these guys follow the straight and narrow here and are committed to making this happen over a 16-game season, I think we're going to have it no matter how out of control coronavirus may come.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Brad. I've said it multiple times. I'm really not concerned about the NFL. I think the NFL is going to happen. What that looks like in the stadium, what that looks like from week to week, I don't know. But I am fairly confident with the limited knowledge that I have that we're going to get an NFL season. Brad, I work closely with the collegiate athletic department, and the college side is a little trickier for me. I'm not sure. I want to, as a fan, as a lover of football, I want to say that we're going to have a full college season, but you're talking about 132 Division I programs. And then you've got D2, and then D3, and then NAIA, and then you've got, and then it's not, and what people fail to realize in collegiate sports is there's like 30 damn sports at a university. It's not just football, man. And there are Title IX rules. You can't just have football and tell women's basketball you don't matter. You can't play. Women's softball, soccer. It doesn't work like that. So I think from a collegiate standpoint with athletics in general, that's where I'm a little more, I don't know how that's going to play out. I mean, what are your thoughts and the things that you've heard about a college season this year?
Yeah, I think it's really going to be on a sport-by-sport basis. So let's start with football, right? And we'll talk about the two major sports. I'll give you my thoughts on basketball, too, because I cover college basketball from a bracketology perspective. We're going to have all my bracket stuff, if we do have a March Madness this year, on FTN2, by the way.
There you go.
And we're going to be covering college football as well across the board for DFS, if you play in like a season-long college football league, and also for sports betting. But I think the Ivy League is telling. With the Ivy League moving everything to the spring semester, is that the first domino to fall? I don't have a concrete answer to tell you. All I know is this. You go to an SEC game. You're in Texas. I mean, Texas is life. Football is life there, even at the high school level, right? And there's just so much money from the events that are going on outside the stadium, around tailgating, corporate events, alumni events, all that kind of stuff. It generates a ton of revenue every single year. And poof, all that would be gone if they play games this fall, because more than likely you're going to have empty stadiums, or maybe at like a quarter of capacity. Universities need that money. They depend on that money, especially the football money, to fund the other sports. You saw what happened at Stanford earlier this week. They're cutting a lot of these ancillary sports that are out there. I didn't even know they had a squash team, but apparently they do. I don't even know what squash is. I know it's good if you put it in the oven with a little brown sugar on it, but that's about all I know. But these are some of the repercussions of not having football. But if you delayed it until the spring and you can go full bore like you normally would, I think that's the most sensible outcome as we try to get coronavirus under control. With a lot of hospitals reaching capacity in a lot of these southern states. You live in one right now where they're struggling massively. Same with Arizona, same with Florida. So I think there's going to be a real, crossroads moment, I think, for the SEC and the Big Ten and the ACC, the Big 12, all these major conferences. They're going to have a come to Jesus moment and just accept reality and play it safe, because, they're liable in the end if some of these players get sick, and God forbid somebody gets like terribly sick and has to be hospitalized. that, they don't want to have that on their conscience. They don't want to have the lawsuits start rolling in
Nope.
either. So
Nope.
I could see that getting pushed back. And I think basketball, I think it's virtually a done deal with the Ivy League now going to the spring. Rick Pitino, it's pretty rare that you would ever want to quote Rick Pitino as a source of rock solid information, given his past, kind of a shady character as we've known. But Pitino, I think, said it best. He's head coach now at Iona and the Gales. He's back in the D1 game. He said, I think it's time for us to really strongly consider moving back. And I think that's the consensus in college basketball, is suspending the season until January, maybe shaving off a lot of the preseason games so you still have March Madness.
Right.
There will be a solution. It's going to take time. And ultimately what, would solidify when this all starts is if we get a vaccination before the end of the year. But I'm a betting man, and I would say the odds are probably 10-1 that actually happens.
And for those of you who don't know, you guys can check Brad out. The fantasy channel on Sirius XM Monday through Friday. Fade the noise. You can hear Brad's sweet, sweet, sweet voice on there. And I was listening to a show, I think a couple weeks ago. You were talking about the Cleveland Browns, and you were talking about the backfield situation. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. And it just, right now, we running back is what I want to talk about. Just get a couple of your opinions on a few of these guys. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. Lot of conversation back and forth about those two running backs. Brad, just off your head. No, we're not doing no analytics here. Just what's going on in that backfield? Tell me. I need to know because I got a lot of Kareem Hunt, not a lot of Nick Chubb. Am I in trouble, or are we okay with Kareem Hunt this year?
No, we're cool. You and I are on the same page here. I love rub-a-dub-dub Nick Chubb as much as anybody. And, I think Nick Chubb is a special running back. I think he is a dynamic, flashy runner and a guy that's just a rolling beer keg between the tackles, can really flatten the competition. You see in the yak numbers and everything else that's out there, and you just see with the eye test, right? And I think this offensive line is going to be much improved with the investments that they have made this offseason. I think Baker Mayfield's going to get back to what we saw in 2018 as well. Yeah, I'm buying into Cleveland. I've been down this road before. This is why I drink, Ray. It's an unfortunate downside with this franchise, but I'm buying into him. And here's the thing about Kareem Hunt. This could be his last year. This is it. This is swan song for him. And he's really interesting from a fantasy perspective because he averaged 10 touches per game over the second half of the season, and his presence is what really dragged the value down on Nick Chubb during that same stretch. I mean, Chubb was no longer an RB1. He was RB15 overall, more of an RB2 in a 12-team league. Hunt's role, I think, is in Stefanski's offense is got to be 10 to 12 touches per game. I think he's going to be heavily utilized as a pass catcher. It was on pace for 74 catches last year. I think he could easily hit 60, 65 this year. And the other thing is this, man. It's Cleveland. Now, stuff happens there. Things sour in a hurry. And if they do early on by the trade deadline, do you think Kareem Hunt would look enticing to a contender that may be RB needy, knowing his history and knowing that, more than likely Cleveland's not going to bring him back after this year? That's the one thing that I find most appealing about him. And a guy you're getting around RB30, RB31 in drafts is the prospects that if Cleveland sucks out of the gate, they could easily dangle Hunt in a trade offer by the deadline. And if he gets in the right situation, becomes a workhorse once again, he's a dude that can maybe win you a fantasy title.
I agree 100%. And what you said, at cost, where you're getting him, it's a no-brainer, right? The cost of Kareem Hunt. And it's not to diminish Nick Chubb. I mean, pure runner, he's a top 2, top 3 running back, just pure runner in the NFL. Brad, this has been fun. We have had a good time talking and agreeing with one another and talking sport. But now I'm about to ruffle some feathers. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. And David Johnson, all right? Seasonal leagues, I get it. He looked washed last year. He looked washed. And it feels like we as fantasy gamers are holding on to that ridiculous, 2017 season where he went CMC before CMC. But is there anything? The Houston Texans offensive line is not good. They've lost DeAndre Hopkins, a porous offensive line, an aging David Johnson. And the thing with him that I keep hearing is if he can stay healthy,
Right.
I get it. Injuries happen in football. and I saw you tweet something out about DJ the other day. That's why I brought him up.
Yeah.
Let's go. Give me why. Why should we be investing in David Johnson in seasonal leagues?
Who else is on roster? Duke Johnson and a whole bunch of nobodies.
It's Duke.
And
We
that's
want
my thing
Duke.
here.
We want Duke, right? Is it? Yeah. No.
Well,
no.
yeah, I mean,
no. Yeah.
But Duke is Duke. He's an auxiliary back. He's a change of pace guy. He's not a guy that can shoulder 15 to 17 touches per game. David Johnson, from what I've seen in interviews, he goes, man, I feel good physically. My ankle's good. My back's good right now. And we got to remember what he did weeks 1 through 6 before the injury started hampering him. I mean, he was logging 100-plus total yards in a game consistently. He was on pace to basically do what Kenyon Drake did over the second half of the season, a member of the Arizona Cardinals. Houston, the offensive line, you're right. It's Casper the Friendly Ghost up front. Man, they're a turnstile. And that's a problem. But when you have a running quarterback in Deshaun Watson, keep defenses honest. And it's not entirely bare vertically. I think Brandon Cooks is going to have a revival, as long as he doesn't get another concussion.
Right.
I think, he's a guy that get back to 1,000-yard level where he was 2 years ago. Will Fuller, man, he's always that hot dog on a stick, isn't he? When he's healthy, he's at least a wide receiver 2 in fantasy.
Yep.
But it's that giant if. Kenny Stills has not exactly been the picture of perfect health. Randall Cobb, same thing, but he was highly reliable out of the slot last season with the Dallas Cowboys. Hopefully that can transfer further south there in Texas. So for me, it's just path to opportunity. And David Johnson, and Bill O'Brien's even come out, and I've heard this from some of the beat writers of The Athletic, they believe that David Johnson is going to lead this team in targets and receptions. And for me, that's the sex appeal there. Can he catch 65, 70 balls? I think he's capable. But I just reflect back to the player he was weeks 1 through 6 last year. If that David Johnson can revive, he will have a renaissance in H-Town this season.
Well, in B.O.B., Bill O'Brien has got to make good on that deal. He took a lot of slack. He took a lot of heat about moving Nuke Hopkins. So I completely agree with you. A part of it is just I've been bashing David Johnson for so long. I'm just kind of doing it haphazardly now. But you truly make really good points regarding him. In Dynasty, I still won't want to invest in him long term.
No. No.
But we're talking about seasonal leagues, daily betting. I definitely think for what he will probably be priced at, he's an option that we can throw in our lineups in daily fantasy as well. Now, final player I want to talk about, Brad, you didn't know I was going to bring him up. I want to talk about Mr. Big Chest himself, Antonio Brown. Are we going to see AB on an NFL field in 2020? You're a betting man. If you had to put money on it right now, yes or no? That's the easiest bet you can make. Yes or no? Is Antonio Brown going to play in 2020?
Man, that is a cut and dry right there. I will say yes. We will see him at some point. My issue right now is because of the viral video of Russell throwing him bombs that made the rounds on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, that people are overpaying for AB, thinking it's a guarantee. He did some reprehensible stuff, and he's going to pay the price for it. Yeah. I think at a minimum, you're talking about an 8-game suspension. I've heard as high as 10 games. Now, the NFLPA could appeal and whittle if it does to be, if it is a 10-game suspension, deem that they could whittle that sucker down to 8. But, where does he land? Is it going to be Seattle? I think Josh Gordon has a better chance of re-signing with Seattle now that he has filed his reinstatement papers than Antonio Brown does. And, you look at Josh Gordon, he's only 29.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And, he's had these moments the last couple of seasons. And you can understand why he relapsed. I mean, his brother died unexpectedly last year. I mean, and the guy's he's gone through so much, and I'm pulling for him. And I hope, he continues to be on the straight and narrow. And I think I think he'll sign with Seattle. And I don't think AB will wind up there. Could AB go to Tampa? Maybe. Right. But is that the best situation for him? No. And what's going to happen, man. Let's say hypothetically he goes to Tampa, right? You got Chris Godwin, got Mike Evans, got Gronk, got O.J. Howard there, right? I love Tyler Johnson, too, the rookie out of Minnesota. I thought they got for a steal deal in the NFL draft. Could you imagine if AB doesn't get targeted like in a half and all these other cats are like Hoover vacuums or sucking up all those balls from Tom Brady? Do you think he is you think that's going to sit well with AB? You don't think he's going to
No.
throw a little conniption fit there
Yeah.
on the sidelines
Yeah.
and go full TO on it? I think there's too much baggage. I think he's too much of a disruption. Maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
You know, we all deserve second chances, but AB's had multiple chances, and he keeps screwing this thing up. I think he'll be on the field at some point, but I'm not willing to overpay for his services in fantasy.
We only know about the second chances that were made public. Apparently, there were things going on in Pittsburgh's locker room long before he was upset that Juju Smith-Schuster was named team MVP. It just seemed like shit went downhill after that happened for Antonio Brown. And I truly have never, I guess there are some situations, but in recent memory, seen a fall from just top of the game to and not based off of his talent and skill, but just based off of being a knucklehead. And you know, and Antonio Brown is one of the best. Him and Julio Jones, when you're talking about this generation for fantasy wide receivers, hell, real football, and to see that just that fall. And you know, Brad, I don't feel sorry for the guy. If some of those things he brought on himself, so I'm not making excuses or showing sympathy or empathy for Antonio Brown. But the fact of the matter is, he's still relatively young. He's still probably just as good as he was when he was on the field. And I do think there's a place to draft him, but it's not. It's late. Like I'm with you. If I'm going to take AB, it's going to be late flyer, and I've got to be fine. And you all should be okay with if he doesn't play, it doesn't burn. You didn't waste, a pick on Antonio Brown to bypass, a younger talented rookie or something like that. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on AB. Couple of players. This is the first one, Brad. This is the first show. And
first of many, baby.
This is the first of many. I just wanted to give the viewers and the listeners an opportunity to see, to hear you, to feel that enthusiasm about what Fade the Noise is, what they can expect, what we are going to bring to the table. And here you go, Brad, your opportunity. I'll just talk to the people about, not even about Fade the Noise, but just any closing remarks about what we have coming up in the future, or just what to expect going forward.
I cannot wait to get full team sports that we know and love back. Like, I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, and, baseball, I've kind of lost my appetite for. I would kill for it right now. Anything, right? Like I said, this TBT tournament I've been watching ESPN has been a savior for my life, because I'm like, oh man, I've missed this. I miss having some action on some random game somewhere.
Right.
I miss just watching sports and the competitive zeal that's out there. That's not golf. That's not NASCAR. That stuff doesn't interest me. But there are a lot of people it does interest. But I can't wait for the team sport element to come back. And the NBA, too, I'm just jacked for.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be such a unique experience. And I think the field is just so level now, right? Because you're not going to have any kind of crowd noise. And the same thing with the NFL. If you don't have any crowds, and I talked to somebody that works at CBS, and she had told me that she had been told that they're going to be pumping in authentic crowd noise to every home stadium, every major broadcast, to give it that feel, even if it's empty stands that are all covered.
Right.
It is a wild, it is a wacky, it is a weird time. But you're right. The great uniter, the great connector for all of us, watches your programs, reads my stuff, listens to the radio show or whatever, it's through sports.
Yep.
And I think if we can get that, have this kumbaya, I think we can have that distraction from all of the horrible news that is going on seemingly daily here in the United States. So I'm really excited for what we're developing, and I'm really excited to see where this goes, of course, with your assistance as well, my friend.
Well, Brad, we appreciate you dropping by the All Gas Show. I know you are a busy man, busy, but just tell the people if they don't know where they can find you at. Where are you at, Brad?
Yeah, man, you can always cyber stalk me on Twitter at Noisy Huevos with an H. It is hashtag Tequila Thursday, and I might be sipping on a fine añejo, because what else am I going to do in these self-isolation times? Please, again, check out FTN, FTNFantasy.com, FTNDaily.com, FTNBets.com. Lowest prices we may ever have available right now. We also have a free preview. Check out all the race stuff, my stuff, and our stable of some 50 plus writers we got covering everything under the sun. And of course, as Ray mentioned earlier, you can always listen to me on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. My colleague Brandon Funston from The Athletic. It's called Fade the Noise. Oh, appropriate. It is Monday through Friday from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We have a ton of fun on that show. It's very well organized. And if you like trivia, which I do, we play a little game of Guess Who, and I always test Funston's trivia chops every single day about some random stuff. And I got to admit, Ray, his early 90s hip-hop game, no bueno. It ain't good.
Brad, we appreciate you. Go back to running Fade the Noise. Go get some tequila. Stay safe, and we will talk to you later. Thank you, Brad.
All right, man, I'm going to pop on some Cool Mo D, some Positive K, even if you want to go real deep cut, and I'm going to do exactly that. I appreciate you.
All right, that's it. That's the show. You heard it. That is what Fade the Noise is. This is what Fade the Noise is about. And the All Gas Show will be coming to you every single Wednesday to cover football, redraft, dynasty, college. I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about, but it's going to be fantastic. So once again, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you check out Fade the Noise, FTNFantasy.com. Use the promo code ALLGAS. And if you want exclusive access to me and my content, my rankings, my thoughts, film breakdowns, early access to shows, bonus shows, Destination Devi swag, make sure you go to patreon.com/allgas. I promise you, within 5 minutes of becoming a patron, you will have been like, dude, that was well worth it. Well worth it. The best Devi community in fantasy football, period. If you want to be in campus to Canton leagues, you want to know about 2022, 2023 prospects, make sure you join the squad, the All Gas Army. Patreon.com/allgas. Thank y'all, man. We're rocking, baby. All gas, no breaks. Check you next time. Be safe. Peace.